The neon lights of New Geneva Station flickered overhead as Jason Chin sat alone in the corner booth of the Nebula Lounge, nursing his third drink. His friend Marcus had insisted on setting him up with someone, anyone, to help him move on. 3 years had passed since the war ended. 3 years since he'd lost Zara. "You can't keep living in the past, man," Marcus had said. "Just one date. That's all I'm asking." Jason checked his watch. She was late. Of course she was. He should have known better than to agree to this ridiculous setup. His fingers traced the edge of his glass, and for a moment he saw Zara's luminescent violet eyes staring back at him from its depths. Those eyes that had captured his heart during the darkest days of the Kryn-Human War. "Jason," the voice made him freeze. That accent, that specific lilt in the pronunciation of his name. His head snapped up, and the glass slipped from his fingers, shattering on the table. Standing before him was a Kryn female. Tall, elegant, with pearl-white skin that shimmered under the bar lights and those distinctive crystalline horns that curved back from her temples. But it was her eyes, violet, deep, and hauntingly familiar, that made Jason's heart stop. I'm Emma," she said, her voice faltering as she noticed his shock. "Marcus told me about you, but he didn't mention." She trailed off, her own expression shifting from confusion to recognition. "You were in the war." Jason couldn't speak. She looked exactly like Zara. The same facial structure, the same graceful movements, even the same nervous habit of touching her left horn when uncertain. "I should go," Emma said quickly, taking a step back. This was clearly a mistake. "Wait." The word came out harder than Jason intended. Years of military training fought against the tsunami of emotions threatening to drown him. "Please, sit." Emma hesitated, her violet eyes studying him with an intelligence that was achingly familiar. Finally, she slid into the booth across from him, maintaining a careful distance. "You knew someone," Emma said softly. "It wasn't a question." "My wife," Jason replied, the word still painful after all this time. "Zara. She was Kryn. She died in the final assault on Proxima 7. Emma's expression softened with understanding and pain. "I lost my brother in that same battle. He was defending the civilian evacuation zones when the human forces broke through." The words hung between them like a blade. Here they sat, two people scarred by the same war, on opposite sides of history. "Marcus is an idiot," Jason muttered, signaling the server to clean up the broken glass. "Agreed," Emma said, and despite everything, a small smile touched her lips. "Though I suspect he had good intentions. He told me you needed someone who understood loss. Did he mention you were Kryn? Did he mention you were a veteran who married one of us?" They stared at each other, and suddenly, impossibly, Jason felt the corner of his mouth twitch. Emma's smile widened, and then they were both laughing, the kind of desperate, cathartic laughter that comes from the absurdity of fate. "This is the worst blind date in the history of the galaxy," Jason said, wiping his eyes. "Without question," Emma agreed. "Though I once had one where the person turned out to be my cousin's ex-husband, so this is a close second." As the evening wore on, something unexpected happened. They kept talking. Emma ordered food, Kryn nutrient crystals that dissolved in imported mineral water, and Jason found himself sharing stories he'd locked away for years. She told him about growing up on Kryn Prime, about the cultural exchange program that brought her to New Geneva Station, about her work in xenobiology. "You know," Emma said carefully, "you keep looking at me like you're seeing a ghost." "I am," Jason admitted, "but I'm also starting to see you, Emma. Not just her shadow." Emma reached across the table, her crystalline fingers stopping just short of touching his scarred human hand. "The war took everything from both of us. My entire family died believing humans were monsters. Your wife died believing Kryn could change." "She was right," Jason said quietly. "Zara always said that if we could just talk to each other, really talk, we'd see we weren't so different." "My brother said the same thing," Emma whispered, "right before he refused to evacuate and stayed to help human civilians escape the bombardment." The weight of that revelation settled between them. Two soldiers, both fighting for something more than their own sides. Both lost to a war that should never have happened. "Marcus really is an idiot," Jason said again. But this time, there was warmth in his voice. "Perhaps," Emma replied, her violet eyes meeting his with a depth that was entirely her own. Or perhaps he understood something we didn't. That sometimes the bravest thing survivors can do is try again. Jason finally closed the distance and took her hand. Her skin was cool, crystalline, utterly alien, and utterly real. This is still a disaster of a first date, he said. Absolutely catastrophic, Emma agreed. Would you like to try for a second one? Jason thought of Zara, of her hope for a future where humans and Kryn could build something together. He thought of all the years he'd spent frozen in grief, unable to move forward. Yeah, he said, I really would. As they left the bar together, two damaged souls taking a tentative step toward healing. The stars of New Geneva Station glittered overhead. The same stars that had watched over a terrible war, now bearing witness to something that war had tried to destroy: hope.